first movie of 2026. What is up, everybody? RandomRandomMan here, bringing you my first movie review of the year, and it is for Primate in one take. Now, the plot of this natural horror film follows a tropical vacation that goes awry when a family's adopted chimpanzee named Ben gets rabies and becomes violent. Going into this movie, I did not have the highest expectations. Now, when I saw the trailer for this thing, I thought it looked like trash, and now that I have seen this thing in theaters, you may be asking, if you're a regular viewer of mine, Alan, or Alan, in case you don't know, that's my real name, why are you watching a horror movie as your first movie of 2026 if that is your least favorite genre of films? Well, it got decent enough reviews, and it seemed like a concept that would be played around with if it was done to a tight degree, and I have to start my year off at the movies somewhere. Starting out with the cast and their performances, we have Johnny Sequoia as Lucy. She is the main character here, who is returning home from school with a couple of friends to Hawaii, where her dad and younger sister live. And I thought that she did well for what she had to do in terms of being one of the teen characters. She is probably the least incompetent out of them, because this is a horror film. Not every one of them is going to have the same survival instincts. But with her also having a specific connection with Ben the chimpanzee, that showed, the development that was there, at least on a surface level, for what was being done here and setting up these characters. The only other big character here is the one played by Troy Kotsur. He plays Lucy's dad. Kotsur is the actor who won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Coda from 2021. He is the first deaf male performer to win an Academy Award for acting. And here, he doesn't have too much screen time, but whenever he shows up, he does light up the screen, I feel. And given that the family that his character is a part of has this chimpanzee as a pet, it's also interesting to see that he is able to communicate with Ben using American Sign Language, or ASL. So that was a neat detail there, just to show like how he was integrated to the film well, and how it kept going for establishing these characters. And with the rest of the characters, I mean, there isn't much to them. As I mentioned, Lucy has a younger sister, and there is the friend group that come along to the home where Lucy lives in Hawaii for this vacation. So there is that. And then getting into the writing of this film, it's pretty basic at its core. We get a brief introduction through text as to rabies, in terms of it being around for thousands of years and setting up a whole aversion to water, which eventually, of course, it's revealed that Ben has rabies and is going on a rampage against these people living in this house. And the movie takes place mostly in and around this home. It's a cliffside home that's mostly made of glass. So it's very nice looking, and the movie does play around with certain aspects here. At one point, the characters get stuck in a pool because, as I've mentioned, animals that have rabies have an aversion to water. So a chunk of that part of the movie is seeing them scrambling, trying to figure out how to call for help, get help, or escape, and all this other stuff there. And then we also get to see a brief kind of backstory with how the chimp used to belong to the late wife of Troy Kotsur's character. And then also, seeing how some other teen characters are eventually brought in here from this seeming passing detail at the beginning of the movie. But the more characters that are brought in, the more they are in terms of cannon fodder for Ben to go ahead and literally either tear them apart or rip their faces off. And the movie has quite gruesome gore here. The practicality of this film is shown off like in a lot of other horror movies. The movie was made for only $24 million in budget, so it uses what it is doing in terms of its whole resources pretty well. Ben in particular, I noticed that he wasn't entirely made up of visual effects here. There was a close-up of him that made me notice that he was a practical effect, an animatronic, I think, on his head, and just seeing how it ran around and just moved and all that stuff. yeah, I thought that, yeah, for the budget, it worked for what it was trying to do. And of course, a lot more of the budget was probably going towards the blood and the gore, all that stuff here. It's a pretty predictable thriller once it comes down to it as well. The direction by Johannes Roberts, I thought, was more than decent in terms of it being a standard, yet I would say quickly chilling thriller. Prior to this movie, he made films like 47 Meters Down and Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, neither of which I've seen, but I've heard not so good things about it. And I think this is apparently one of his better received movies, if not his most well received movie. So in terms of what he did, in terms of also co-writing the script here, directing, I thought I was able to get the job done, even with the obvious flaws that a horror film would have. Not all the characters necessarily do the right things. The dialogue isn't entirely there for certain moments here because, of course, what is there in terms of this movie trying to go with its concept and just trying to be as tight as it is at under 90 minutes, including the end credits here. And there's one detail that is used notably by the end of the movie that is briefly introduced earlier on that could have ended the movie sooner. But again, I think this movie, for what it's trying to do, I thought that it was something that I ended up liking. And I feel that anyone who wants their B horror movie fix during this time of year, if you're not catching up with anything from last year that is held over, or you're not into awards season, the Golden Globe Awards are this coming Sunday, then I think that this is something to go ahead and see. And in terms of it being a thriller that runs at just under an hour and a half and is doing what it needs to do, and you get to see some pretty gnarly kills once characters start getting picked off, this is something that I would say I recommend you go and see. With all of that being said, my final verdict for Primate is 3.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Primate. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.